So I've been at Google for 4 years and I've seen a lot of change, right? One, when I joined, it was really a search company. Now Google does have, mobile, Android has grown up to be massively successful, Chrome, digital, display advertising as well. But I think also more fundamentally, the consumer has changed. And the consumer has changed because the consumer has more choice. And consumers love choice. They love the ability to make their own decisions and to have and to really interact in the way that they want to with the media that they're looking for. And so you see that every time a new media comes on, they adopt it. 35% of all people now have a smartphone, and that fundamentally changes the way people's behavior works, and we need to be responsive to those changes as they occur. Yes, we do look at the consumer differently because we are able to look much more closely than we used to. We used to have to look at mass markets and say, okay, from a demographics, I'm targeting someone 31 to 39 male, right? Instead, you can now look at it and say, I'm actually looking for someone who has this kind of behavior, and you can look for exhibits of that behavior online or on mobile, right? You can see what they're actually doing and interact with them at that intersection point. So not only, if you can get to the point where we are finally fulfilling the promise of the right offer at the right time to the right person, right? And now you can actually really do that. In a mass media, you're hitting everybody. But the right offer, you can sort of test that out, see how they digitally work, right? Check out 10 different kinds, see which one works the best. The right person, you can target into an individual. And the right time, you can know their frame of mind at that moment. So I think you can learn a lot very quickly in terms of what consumers are really looking for, what actually does resonate. I was with one client last night, one Google client, who was talking about how they were launching a tablet, and the things that they thought were really going to be important, when they looked at the user reviews and all the blogs online, were actually very different than what they anticipated. The things they thought were, hey, this is just kind of a throwaway, like adding a file sharing system. Actually, the clients were like, the consumers were like, this is amazing. I can actually relate back to how I work on a PC. And so they were able to find a corollary experience, and that was a huge impact for them in terms of sales. Something they just, it was a small decision that wound up having a very important impact on how they marketed the capabilities. The biggest surprise is it's one consumer across all media. So as we've looked at this business, we keep on thinking of, okay, I want to have a digital strategy, I want to have a social strategy, I want to have a mobile strategy. What you have to have is a consumer strategy that looks at where are they going to be, what are they doing with each one of these areas at that moment, and what is the moment of relevance for them, and what they're really looking to accomplish. So on TV, you're really trying to make them aware of something you've seen and get them interested enough. And online, there are some portions you can do that, like a homepage, but a homepage takeover, but you can use video to take them from I'm aware to I want to virtual trial, right? I've checked out the whole phone online, I've seen all the videos, I've seen what it looks like, I'm now ready to make a purchase. And you can do that with video. You can also then get them to transact right there with an ad and have them transact online or give them an offer to take them straight to the store. So people are transacting across all these media, and now you have much better ability to target them in. You just have to understand that it's one person across all the media, and that the media is just an avenue. So if you looked at, and we look at some of the things that surprised us, it's the same consumer across all different media, right? So people are coming in on their mobile devices, their tablets, their desktops, as well as television, radio, and they're just getting hit with different messages. So we think less about the medium as being important, but the individual and what their state of mind is at that moment, and what your marketing objective is at that moment. So we think about a funnel as I need to create awareness, I need to get them to consider, and then I probably need to get them to try or purchase, right? And you have to think about your strategy across those three levels and then apply the media to it. So for instance, you may leverage TV heavily for awareness, right? It's not as targeted, but you can reach 250 million Americans potentially, right? For a relatively cost-effective way, get them aware of your product. But the moment they're aware, you need to move them to consideration, which can be great with video, can be great with online reviews, other spots where they're now going to do research on you, and you want to make sure to be there at that moment of research. They're not looking to buy, they're looking to understand, figure out, is this the right value? 25% of people actually watch a video about a phone before they buy a phone, right? So you want to be there when that occurs. And then when they're going to purchase, you want to be there at that moment. So if they type in AT&T Motorola phone, you want to be there right there trying to get them to close an offer. And in particular, if they're on a mobile phone, we know they convert even higher. They just convert in a store. So you definitely want to be there driving them into your store so that they can then walk right in, find the phone they're looking for, and transact very quickly. But thinking about them across the funnel or down the funnel and then applying the media rather than starting with a social strategy or a digital strategy, start with a consumer strategy of how do I get them from awareness all the way to purchase.